differently every time. I so believe that we receive when we need to receive. Am I right? So when we need the information at the time, when our brain is ready to receive, is when we're ready to take that all in. So I want to talk to you a little bit about your powerful I story and the power behind them getting to know you. You know, you've heard me say the words about when Hallmark, years ago started making the recyclable cards, and it was so cool. Recyclable cards. Everything was recyclable. But it wasn't until their commercials came out that started making us cry, is when they started making millions. It was the emotion behind that was attached to the company. So your I story is that powerful. It's the power behind the I. So when you heard Sean talk about his I story, so I want you guys to first write this down. It's so simple. It is so simple. So I'm going to give you just 3 letters so that you can really put together your own personal I story that's powerful. P, which is perception. What you thought of Mary Kay before joining. For some of you that are in the Pearl Seminar, you might know National Sales Director Amy Gaboyan. And Amy's I story is completely different. When she talks about her perception of her first experience with Mary Kay was when she was with her father in Omaha, Nebraska, and they pulled up to a stop sign, a stoplight, and next to her was a Mary Kay pink Cadillac. And her father turned to her and said, "Now that is a hard-working, successful woman." Now her story is a little bit different. My perception of Mary Kay was my grandmother's makeup. I didn't know anything about Mary Kay. And so that was my first perception. So I love that is your job in your Mary Kay story, in your Mary Kay I story, to change the perception. And so when you're honest, and that P is perception. So, and D is decision. What made you decide to order the Mary Kay starter kit? So that's something that you're going to share. And the letter A is amazing. What you found that has been amazing. Like discoveries, amazing discoveries since becoming part of Mary Kay. So you kind of have some ideas on how you're going to develop your own, of course, I story. It doesn't need to be 30 minutes long like Sean. He, of course, has, President Pete, that you get a chance. He's old. So having your I story, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, very short, because you're going to be sharing that at all of your appointments. But you want to leave the audience wanting more. And I learned that in college, that you never give it all. You never share it all, but you always want to leave your audience. I want more. Tell me more. And so, just like Mary Kay Ash in her autobiography said, you can't lead a horse to drink when they're not thirsty, but you can put a little salt on their tongue. And that's what your I story does. Some of you that know me well, you'll hear me say that I was annoyingly intrigued by this business and the I story I heard from my recruiter. I was annoyed by what she said because I was so intrigued by the stuff I didn't know. Does that make sense? So you want your I story to be, you want those people to be annoyingly intrigued, especially when you share that business with everyone. You can't expect them to want to join your Mary Kay team at the very beginning, right? But when you share that I story, you do get a chance to give them that perception, that decision, and that amazement, that wow power. Because you were completely wowed. So raise your hand. When you turned 18, or you knew that you were going to be a Mary Kay beauty consultant when you grew up, raise your hand. Okay, nobody. Wow. Okay, but when you heard the Mary Kay story, you were ready to change the course of your life. Raise your hand. It's like everybody. So one of the things that you can do is weave, or I say sneak, the objections into your I story. And so before you even get them, and when you're able to weave and sneak those objections that you know that are going to come out before they even come from the lips, you already have given them the opportunity to think, oh, she's like me. And so I'm going to give you some ways to weave and sneak your objections into your I story before they even come about. And so one of the things that I love to say is, at the very beginning, if you would have met me 10 years ago and told me I'd be selling Mary Kay, I would have just completely laughed. I would have told you you were crazy. How many of you have said that? Yeah. And another one is, if I didn't have the time, but one of the things I did learn was that I could dribble Mary Kay in a little bit here, a little bit there. So have you ever had a time objection? Yes. So in your I story, you're already killing the objection before it even comes from the lips, from people that are in your audience. So your I story needs to be, it definitely needs to be intertwined and woven with those objections. At the Mary Kay sales meeting, or at our weekly success event, or I attended a brunch, or I was at this fabulous event that my director or my consultant said, you've got to come as my guest. But there I heard some great facts about Mary Kay. What did you hear me say there? That they have success meetings. You wouldn't believe the amount of people that ask me, you mean you have training, right? So when you weave those objections right on into your I story, you have less objections to overcome at the end, and people are completely always excited about joining your Mary Kay team. What I want you guys to start doing, involving your Mary Kay I story, I want you to talk about the charitable foundation. Will you do that for me? Now, maybe it hasn't affected your life, but it's affected millions and millions of other women and other families in the world. So make a special note of that charitable foundation. I'll tell you, one of my Mary Kay units, one of my Mary Kay teams in South Dakota, that's where I'm from, was able to be there when Mary Kay delivered a $20,000 grant check to a domestic violence shelter that was getting ready to close. So my Mary Kay girls were there at the delivery time. That's powerful, isn't it? People don't realize, sometimes they only see lipsticks and big bouffant hairdos and Pepto-Bismol cars. Sometimes they don't see beyond the idea of the difference that we make as Mary Kay as a lipstick, as the avenue to change lives and make differences in everybody's life, men, women, and children. So think about, make a list during your I story of the really great facts that you've heard that have been fantastic facts that you just can't wait to share. It might be Mary Kay is on the list of the best 100 companies to work for. People are impressed by that. But think about the things that are on your list that you would love to share Mary Kay with. Another one is, my friends and family members let me practice on their face. What I did was I just really dissected my I story. Now, for you guys, I had one acquaintance, and she was my neighbor, and her name was Clova Miller, and she was my mate. She lived across the street, and she was my first victim. And she allowed me to practice on her face. Now, what overcoming objection would that be? I don't have friends. I don't know anyone. But people are willing to help you in practice. How many of you have gotten that objection? I don't know anyone, right? So weave that special message into your I story. Another one is then, and then people from that group booked, and so on, and it continued my Mary Kay business. But I was scared to death talk in front of a crowd, but thank goodness I could just do Mary Kay one-on-one at first. I could just practice on her. So how many of you have thought, oh, crowds, just, oh my gosh, have you heard that? I'm afraid to talk to a crowd. So, and last but not least is amazing. What you found that has been amazing since becoming part of Mary Kay. And this is going to be your heart-to-eye story. And some of my new directors that just earned their cars and 2 days ago got a chance to push the button that said, yes, I want my car, I want a car. So that's going to be their amazement. Their amazement, but maybe you haven't lived it yet, but you can live through your Mary Kay director or your recruiter and her amazing stories that she shared with you. You can share other people's stories until you start developing your own. And so I think that's what's great. So remember, PDA, perception, decision, and amazing, because that's what this company is. All right.